All right, so you might wonder, who the hell is that guy? Because this is a brand new conference in my perspective of where I usually come. But I do see some familiar faces, so you know what I'm all about. I'm kind of like a crazy guy though, because I just keep talking and talking, but also keep demoing and demoing. Because I don't really care much about people saying, well, this works because it's in my book. I don't give a shit. Basically, I don't. Why is it in your book? What is the proof behind it? How did you get to this point that this is the truth for you? And why does it work? That's usually my questions when I go see other people, because I want something with a great foundation and I want to know why it works, because my brain is a little bit peculiar, because I love all the science stuff. ADD, ADHD, OCD, it helps a lot if you want to know stuff into the depth, right? So that's how I control all my diagnosis. So hopefully that will be on your benefit throughout this small session. So another thing is, you might wonder, so what is a Danish guy doing here anyway? Because that's a long way from home, isn't it? Don't you have polar bears back home? No, we don't. Don't you eat Stroop waffles? Yay, got the t-shirt. No, that's people from Holland. So what we do is basically nothing. It's a flat country. We're not the happiest people on earth, as people think we are. And Scandinavia is actually several countries, not one entire country. I'm just saying because that's the most common questions. But in spite of all that, I have been traveling the world for the past 24 years doing hypnosis on a professional level. I have the biggest academy in Scandinavia. I'm the most booked stage performer in Scandinavia throughout the past 10 years. And I've done headliner shows in Vegas, in 17 countries, TV shows. I got the Golden Buzzer in the Got Talent franchise as the first hypnotist ever. So yeah, I've done a little bit of everything. And somebody asked me 3 years ago, so how many people have you hypnotized? I'm like, well, that's a weird question, because what is really being hypnotized? What is it? Is it the people on stage? Is it the demo people that I use, or is it the entire audience? So I kind of like made a mixture between all of that. And 3 years ago, people being hypnotized was at least 150,000 people. So I do know a little bit about this craft and this business, just a little bit. So bear with me. If I get too nerdy, stop me, please. If I get too excited, good. Because this is passion, right? I want to share my passion with everyone. So hopefully you can follow. Anyway, that's all done. It's on the way around, so that's perfectly okay. So the first question I usually ask people, because there's a lot of misconceptions about what is a rapid induction, what is a fast speed induction, what is really fast, and what does it take? So what would be a fast induction for you guys, minute-wise? What is it? How much is that? Everything considered, because it's not just where you do it, it's all the preconditioning, it's the pre-talk, it's the prep of the person, it's everything. How much time does it take really? This is interactive. I ask a question, you will answer, raise your hand, or say something. Otherwise it's going to be a long day, okay? So what would be a good...
Couple minutes.
Couple minutes. That's a good one. That's from a pro. What would be other suggestions? What does it take really?
It would depend on the motivation of the person you're working with.
Exactly, because that's one thing. It depends on the settings, depends on the audience, if there is any. So there's a lot of things we have to consider. So would we ever do a fast arm pull in the clinic and just yank people down to the floor and do therapy right after? Probably not, and you shouldn't. Because that will be a surprise to that person, because that's not the set of expectation they show up with, right? But if you do a demo on stage, if you do a real stage show, if you do something on the street, that might be what people expect. Anthony mentioned something yesterday that I'm not sure everybody really paid attention to. And Jim Wan does the same thing. I had a great meeting with him last night. It's all about spotting the best people to begin with. Because everything you do with that one or two person that might be really suggestible will prime everybody else in the room. So if you feel kind of like uncertain who to pick, don't do anything too advanced, because everybody would follow their lead, right? So here's the thing. Way back when Hypnothoughts first started, there was a whole excursion taking buses to Fremont and hypnotists dropping hypnotists. And that's the easy part, right? All over the place on a Thursday night. And it was kind of interesting to see because all the dinosaurs, and I mean that very positive, right? All the dinosaurs was kind of like holding back, watching all the young people being all excited and stuff. So when they first grabbed someone, did all the prep work and all the pre-stuff, the dinosaurs kept hijacking all those subjects afterwards, like saying, look at this video, we did this in 30 seconds. No, you didn't, because the young people did that, or the other people did that. So it made me wonder just a little bit and see if I can push the boundaries. So I created something called Induction Mastery. So this is a little part of that. And I had a guy in class who was 80-something, Joe Glass, if that rings any bell with anyone. He 82, maybe 81. He has the domain World's Slowest Hypnotist. He's freaking awesome. And he's slow, okay? And that would be an advantage in some occasions, right? So he was like, well, I'm not sure, Martin, that I will do any fast-speed inductions, but I love the science, so please show me the science. So we went through a couple of days, and I asked everyone to go outside, pick someone on the hallway, downstairs, or whatever. And since it was in Vegas, most people knew what hypnosis was all about, but he actually picked some random guy outside that didn't know anything about hypnosis. I made sure of that. And everything that needs to be done in the prep work would be all the safety measures, right? All the priming of that person, the set of expectation. Do you meet that? Do they kind of know it? Do they connect with a relaxed feeling or just a feeling of being able to expand the view or the concentration or whatever we call it in our terms, right? All of that, but also prepping the body, prepping the mind, letting them know what's going to happen when I say this or do that, and when to attack, as I call it. All of that, you would expect that to be a couple of minutes, right? As the only one in that room, he did all of that in 11 seconds with a brand new dude that never was hypnotized before. And I was standing in the corner like, what the hell just happened? Wow. And he was like, I think I need to change the domain name now. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Call up Sean Michael Andrews and get his domain, right? So absolutely right. It's all about the set of expectations. It's all about what is the audience primed to think and primed to do. But a lot of people are trying to deceive you on YouTube and everywhere else. So if you go study on YouTube, make yourself a favor and think this thought, this might not be reality. Okay? Because most of the demos you might find on YouTube are people who are already prearranged, preconditioned, and everything looks pretty smart at Central Park, New York. Somebody walking up and you look at their hand and you drop them within 30 seconds, right? It looks awesome. But if you pay attention to the background, that guy is waiting while the hypnotist is talking to the camera. So the guy waiting in the background, like, okay, I'm waiting for my cue. You might not see them full body, but you see their arm waiting. And they want to go, let's see if we can find a random stranger. And that guy, oh, that's my cue. Starts walking like, hey, totally random, and drops that person, right? That is fake, has nothing to do with reality. So if you want to be able to do this work right, go challenge yourself and take some random person that has never tried this before, because those language skills that you have to develop to be able to do that are the real skills of a hypnotist, because that means you can hypnotize anyone, anywhere, at any time. Not just the easy ones. You know, I get pretty bored about the easy ones. You might even know, not mentioning any names, but you might even know professional, international known stage hypnotist with plans on stage. It still happens, all right? Why? It's not necessary, right? There's always one, right? You're nodding your head, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, it happens all the time. You might even have the most confident online millionaires, hypnotic selling people. When they actually face people in real life, they get totally, not embarrassed, but nervous and don't really know what to do, because there's a big difference between just speaking into a microphone and then actually shake somebody's hand, right? So I wanna see if I can actually push you guys into the details of the dialogue, the communication, and the science behind it. So whatever you do, the next time you meet someone, some random person out there, that you know, oh, it's all about those small things that has to do with science. doesn't have to do how you really set it up. And I truly mean that. It really doesn't have anything to do to how you set it up. So I want to, I'm going to sound like Jason Linett now. This reminds me of a story. And actually, I told Jim Warren about this yesterday. We have a mutual friend from Switzerland, and she came up to me 5 or 6 years ago saying, I heard about you. People say you're pretty fast. Could you drop me deeper than anyone ever has and faster than anyone ever tried? I'm like, well, if you believe I can, and if you believe and know that there's more to find in your experience, yeah, because if you can dream it and think it, it can happen, right? So I'm like, so who hypnotized you before? She said, Shawn Michael Andrews. I'm like, oh yeah. And she said, can you do it now? I said, nope, it's not time yet. It's not time. And she's like, oh, okay. So I kept saying, when time is right, something's going to happen. When time is right. And she's like, okay, pattern interrupt, right? So I kind of just left and didn't pay attention to it. The day after, she came up again. So is it time now? No. When time is right, I'm going to tell you when time is right. And when time is right, I'm going to do it. So another precondition, right? Another pattern interrupt. On the second day, this sounds like a fairy tale, but it's actually true. She was chatting with Shawn Michael Andrews in the hallway. I'm like, oh. Let's do it. Let's pray. And back then, I didn't really know Shawn. We're really good friends today. And I do admire and respect him quite a lot, so don't misjudge or anything like that. But I was thinking, this is a perfect time, right? And I already preconditioned her by those 2 sentences, right? So I just walked up to her and kind of like interrupted again, another third pattern interrupt with my presence, saying, it's time. And she went, okay, totally confused and everything. And Shawn was like, who's that guy, right? So I just walked up to her and I said, it's time. And I said, you do know the hand drop, right? Because I saw her do something with it. And she says, yeah. I'm like, okay. And she placed her hand and said, not until I say so. 4th pattern interrupt. Okay, exactly. So, and I looked her straight into her eyes and said, when I do say so, it's going to happen. So instead of doing that, yada, 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 I said, now is the time. When she briefly touched my hand, I just pulled her arm and she dropped to the floor, and I said, when you know you have the experience that you were looking for, where you went even deeper right now, and you went even further, even faster than you thought was possible, you will wake yourself up and you will tell me how great that feels. And I just placed my hands in my pockets, just stood like that, looked at Shawn Michael Andrews, just nodded like, hey, waiting. And 40 seconds went, and she woke up and she went, whoa, that was faster than ever. I went even deeper. I didn't even pay attention to me lying on the floor. And Shawn was like, how the hell did you do that? You must have worked with her before. I'm like, no, actually not. So, well, you must have preconditioned her. Well, we had 2 brief conversations. That was her asking me one question, me replying with 1 sentence, yesterday and the day before that. That's it. He's like, no freaking way. And I was like, so your domain name, the world's fastest, hand it over. and he was like, so he was a little bit annoyed by me because I was a little bit too cocky, right? So what I did just to really get him was I bought the domain world's quickest hypnotist, made a splash screen saying, because quick is quicker than fast. And then I sent him the link. So, but ever since we've been good friends, and I really admire him because it's not about who's the fastest, right? That is just a brand. It's just a way of selling yourself. That's really awesome because the fastest induction ever would be close your eyes and think about something that makes you happy. That's it, basically, right? Because we're always there. And it's kind of interesting. I usually just stand in the back of the room while other people are talking because I love those different ideas of what is this business really? What is hypnosis? To me, hypnosis is just a tool to get them there. And trance is trance and yada, 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 and all that. Because we are always in theta, we are always in delta, we are always in beta and alpha. It just depends on where's the most dominant action right now. It keeps changing every freaking second, all right? So it's not a matter how deep you are, what level you're at. It's all about do they reply and do they do the stuff you're asking them to do, all right? I paid attention to Anthony this morning saying, well, it's a loss of control. I totally disagree with that. Because how could you possibly sit yourself down into a chair and accept the idea your hand is stuck to the wall without being in absolute control. Right? That's barely my opinion, but that is truly my opinion, because if your unconscious mind is the most sophisticated security system in the world, at least in your world, it will not make you do anything against your will, against your ethics, and absolutely will never give you the experience of you losing control. So that is the foremost, most absolute control you can ever be in. So it's a gain of control. All right. So, but if we talk about conscious control, absolutely. Unconscious control, power. Right. So that's my take on it. So I'm going to share a couple of things with you, because I do have the perfect formula for a fast speed induction, or the induction. Let's see if we got it up here. Here we go. Makes sense, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, good, because that is the most scientific it will get today, because that's a formula, and I love doing stuff like that. It doesn't mean shit, to be honest, but it does just a little bit, because there's a couple of things we have to understand to be able to create this kind of induction, this moment. So T times T, what do you think that is?
Time.
Time, yeah. Time and trust. All right. So as a hypnotist, you need to know, how much time do I have? Is this like a 30-second thing on the street? We have to surprise people. We have to convince them with something within 30 seconds. Or do I have somebody in my office for the entire hour, right? Makes a difference, doesn't it? Okay. Trust. Can we hypnotize anyone on a one-on-one basis, even with an audience, because that's even more difficult, if there's no trust between me and my subject? Good. So time, you need to know. Trust, you need to establish. Correct? So the next thing we have is E times C squared. E, that's the number of events you can have created in the moment where you go sleep. Or do the Shawn Michael way, sleep! Either way, sorry dog. It's all right. It's kind of like, oh, I'm going to bite that guy's ass in a moment. So, and the C square would be the conscious and the unconscious, because we need to prime both, right? And here's the fun part. So when we got the time and trust, and we know how many events we can create, I'll go back to the events so you kind of get it, and we got both conscious minds working for us or with us, or trusting us or whatever.
Both conscious mind.
Yeah, the unconscious and the conscious, right? Because both needs to be there. Is there any such thing as really, truly bypassing the conscious mind?
No.
Be honest. Some people go, no. Some people say, yeah. Well, it's always there, because if it's not, your client just died. All right? So it's always there. So get it to cooperate or accept it's okay just to stand in the corner breathing right now. Right? That's okay. So we need the trust into that relationship way before we actually have the unconscious to cooperate.
So
all right?
what was he doing in 11 seconds?
Well, we'll get back to that, because that's a good question. All right? So what we're aiming for is the MOW. This is just, remember, this is just a game. I'm just creating words right now, but if it makes sense, good. I got it, right? I got the jackpot. The MOW can actually turn into a couple of things. One, the moment of what the hell just happened. That is where your clients suddenly open their eyes going like, I'm not sure I'm there yet. That is damn, right? Second one would be the moment of wow. That's what we're aiming for. So in the moment where we go, yank their arm, do the handshake, say the word sleeve or whatever triggers them, everything you prepared for them to actually trigger on, that is the moment we're looking for. That would be 1/10 of a second, up to maybe 2, maybe 3 seconds, where their unconscious mind is going like, what's going to happen now? What's the next step? What are we doing? And that is where they kind of recalibrate to all the trust, all the time, all the inner feelings, all the emotions at once, checking out, am I okay with this? That's what's happening in that moment of wow. So if you just go sleep and just leave them, probably they're going to be awake in just a couple of seconds. But if you do that and you go deeper down, even further down, awesome. What do you think is going to happen now? The glide and the natural tendencies of the nervous system and the neural networks, right? That was a John Overdove thing, by the way. So that's really what's happening. That means trust is established. They know they're in absolute control right now. And if they accepted everything so far, you can have them to do whatever as long as it's within the box of their ethics on a stage, on a street, in the clinic, right? So this is what we're looking for. So question is, what kind of events am I talking about? Because is it this script or that script? And this might seem like I'm bullying John Sabone, but he's also a good friend, and he's a fun guy to be with, because he invented 101 inductions. It's the same thing as saying, I invented 100 new sentences. It is. It is. I do respect him because he put it together, so that's awesome. And that is brilliant, because he's got a crazy mind, just like most people in this business, and that's really awesome. But can you create a new sentence? No. So the question is, does this sentence make any sense to the people who are listening? That is the question. We all know the words are all already being made, right? We all know the words already, unless it's really technical language. But most words, we already know them, okay? So there's no creation of new sentences, but there's creation of meaning and relationships. Inductions are the same thing. And we just need to kind of like attack 3 different worlds of the client to be able to create this moment of where everything can happen in that split second. So one of the things we're looking at right now is these things. The interaction between you and your client. And by the way, if you want all these things, put your name in there. I'll send you the PDF file. All right. Interaction. Your tone of voice. If you're very high pitched, they're not going to relax so much. If you're too low pitched and you're trying to wake them up, like, in a moment, I'll count up from 1 to 10. On the count of 10, you'll feel so awake. 1. Oh, you have a problem, right? Mm-hmm. So tone of voice means quite a lot. Incoherent speak, because when you got a microphone on the stand and the green carpet is kind of like molding up in the corner, and you know it's raining because blue skies all over Spain. Yeah, that's where things doesn't really make sense, just like gibberish, right? But what happened? Half of you went like, I'm trying to make sense of this, but it doesn't really make any sense. The other half went like, I got the first word, everything else was like, huh? What's happening? And that's really awesome, because you can use that so it doesn't really have to make any sense as long as they follow your lead still. So that's the kind of interaction I'm looking for. Perfect sense, indirect, direct speak, incoherent speak, right? So environmental influence. We all got this in our clinic. Suddenly the neighbor, the apartment right next door, starts banging on the wall, and you go, oh, I'm sorry about that. Just try and ignore the sounds. Wrong. Every time you hear that hammer on the wall, you go even deeper. As the most easy thing in the entire world of you being in that kind of hypnosis you are right now, because now feels quite good. Boom, here we go again. Another one, right? So incorporate everything that's happening, because everything is an advantage. There's only one person in that relationship with you and everybody else that can fail, and that's you. So please trust me when I say, do fail like a boss. Never admit you just made a mistake, because they don't know. Your colleagues might know, but you can easily just change it, because the only thing the conscious minds will be getting is the last sentence you said. So if you said something that might be an error or fault or whatever, just change it and say what you want them to do. Not what you want them to move away from, but what you really want them to do. That's the secret behind how to do good, proper, clean hypnotic work. Tell them exactly what you expect from them. Well, you will not be able to stand up. Well, in most minds, that will be, of course I can do that. Don't tell me what to do and what not to do. But the entire time, you'll feel totally stuck to the chair, and that's going to be awesome. I said the same thing, but 2 different ways. The last one would be the one they stick to and will have success. The first one will be they will try and attempt and do it, because you said try not to. Try is weak. So not to will be, they will be doing it. Thank you. So another one would be pattern interrupts. You all know what that is, right? Yeah?
What did you say?
Pattern interrupt? What is a pattern interrupt?
What is a what?
Pattern.
There we go, pattern interrupt. So what? Yeah,
Pattern interrupt. I have hearing issues.
Okay, so like high-fiving and some people just leave people hanging, that's a pattern interrupt. Like people are like, like that, right? We all know that, right? I've tried it. It's kind of like, oh shit, did anyone see that, right? Because you feel like you've been left out of whatever brotherhood, I don't know, right? So pattern interrupts are really, really good because that will confuse the conscious mind immediately. And we all have patterns. The way you came in this room is a pattern. The way you sat down on the chair is a pattern. The way you set up your recording device and sit like you do right now, taking notes, even though you got everything recorded, interesting, that's a pattern, right? Yeah, human behavior. Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? But it's awesome. So that means quite a thing too. Fractioning, you know what fractioning is, right? You know what fractioning is, right? You know what fractioning is, right? All right, repetition, right? All right, so shock. What would be a shock from your surroundings?
Sudden noise.
Sudden noise, door slamming, one hammer on the wall, one time, that's it. Whatever happens in the moment, and sometimes if you're trying to be conscious about it, you will have no timing whatsoever. But if you actually entrance yourself, as you should be before hypnotizing anyone, you will adapt everything that's happening around you, because I'm probably sure that all of you had that one moment with a client where you said something that suddenly matched everything in your surroundings and you went like, how did that happen? Right? I have a really good friend in Nashville, Steve Rame, if anybody knows that name. He had a clinic on the main street of Nashville, and there was a building demolition one afternoon, and he was seeing a client. And they were building up to this massive release, and he forgot all about the demolition. And he said, I'll count down from 5 to 1. On the count of 1, you'll release all of it. Exactly on the 1, down the street. Dust coming by the windows, the client sitting in the chair like, whoa, right? And he's like, oh, damn, right, I forgot about that. Client didn't notice. So first words from the client afterward was, how did you do that? That felt awesome. He's like, oh, well, hey, hypnosis, I'm a pro, right? So we have a natural tendency to adapt to surroundings while we are in trance at the same time as our clients. So trust that, back to the trust, right? So, and direct, indirect speak, you all know what that is, hopefully. Either way, works. It's just a tool to get people there, right? So, let's go to the mind. Defocus, focus. What would be a shock of the mind? Count with me from 10 to 1. 10, 9, 11! Ding, ding. Yeah, there we go. All right? So, it's a pattern interrupt, but it's also
defocus.
That too, but it's also confusion, but it's also a shock. It's a lot of things at the same time. So we start paying attention now, because everything is overlapping. The more you can put into this sequence, the bigger moment of wow you will get. The less it probably going to be a moment of what the hell just happened. All right. Overload. What would be an overload?
Well,
If you do a hand drop.
confusion, but yeah.
Let's say hand drop. Start counting at the same time. Looking at my fingers, right? Or Simone, red pen, right? Talk like Schwarzenegger while doing it. A lot of things at the same time. Things you can only do while being in trance. And the subject will definitely be confused. That will be an overload of the brain. Conscious mind. How many things can a conscious mind focus on at one time?
One thing.
One, basically, right? How many things can it process? 5 to 9, right?
Mm-hmm.
Depends on stress level and all sorts of things. So one thing only, that's it. So that is all the mind stuff, but what about the physical? That's interesting too. So compliance and resistance. I don't care if people resist. If they accepted being here and they're resisting, it's because their body doesn't really know what to do. That's it. That's basically it. Is that a good thing? Yeah. Can we confuse the body? Yes, we can. So we can utilize that. It's not a problem. You know, so many people say on the speaks, do we have to be relaxed to do hypnosis? Absolutely not. It's a product of trance in most cases. But hand stuck to the wall is not someone who's standing there at the wall being totally relaxed in their right arm, because that's going to be impossible, right? So resistance in your muscles is also a sign of trance, as long as it's doing what you tell them to do and they follow the lead or whatever. So it's all good. Body language. Does that mean anything? All right. So I'm going to show you something about body language, and I just want you guys to pay attention. So let's see, let's get somebody up here. Blue jacket, I love that jacket. It's awesome.
All right.
Looks like a Graham shirt underneath, is it?
What's that?
A Graham shirt? Looks like it.
Oh.
All right. Anyway, you can stand over there.
All right.
So that's the compliance part, right? So what I usually just do while having people to follow my lead would be something similar like, that's basically it, right? And then we can start slightly moving around and follow a pace and a lead. It's barely nothing, but most people just follow the lead because of body language, right? So that's basically it. What just happened?
Well, in my language, I'd say we felt rapport. Like I felt compelled to sway with
Yeah.
you because,
So, but I didn't have any eye contact with you, did I?
no.
Basically not. So while I was actually informing the audience, everything I told you guys about was totally programming you
Right.
in every way. And I got the confirmation over here. So blue jacket, you want to come? And then I paid attention to something else but the relationship. So you felt like, oh, he's asking about something that's personal or private, and there might not be an answer for it, but it's okay, I like that guy. That's your unconscious. Getting up here, compliance to the left, perfect, you just stood there, and while doing, he's doing it again. Isn't that interesting? Damn it, right? And while I'm doing that, I use my body language, and this time, the first time I actually pulled him just a little bit with my finger, just the same pressure as if you push down on your hand and your skin starts to follow your finger. Nothing more than that. That's enough, and that's way more powerful than deeper down, right?
Right.
So just that, he follows every lead right now. So a lot of those things are already happening. Isn't that interesting?
Yes.
Yeah, all right, thank you. So I just wanted to show you guys how many things that can happen in just this small interaction.
Well, it doesn't feel like there's anything to fight,
True,
right?
because trust is there. I knew exactly how much time I needed.
Yeah.
I was showing events, and your conscious and unconscious was complying. Right? So that's it. That's how easy. Could I actually just pull his arm right now and say sleep? Probably, unless he had fear of landing on the floor. But if I pulled him towards me, even better. If there was a chair, probably just close your eyes and just went. Right?
Yeah.
Because that confidence was there. Plus, you know what's going to happen anyway. Because this group will usually know what's going to happen. But if you're a stranger and I got all those signs, the only thing I needed now was something's going to happen fast. And when it does, you just shut your eyes, go even deeper down, collapse in your upper body, but stay seated in the chair. But that will feel awesome. Every time you do it, you go even faster. So now he knows what to do. And while speaking about like collapsing your upper body, I'm showing it. All right? Have anyone seen the Mark Savard show in Vegas?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So he's doing kind of like the same thing. So he's helping his people on stage to do the things he wants them to do just to make sure. So it's perfect. When he has the crotch itch, people usually sit like this. He just, with the microphone, says, how do you feel right now? And he just pushes the arm with his little finger. Audience doesn't see it, but he's helping them to understand, I want you to do something. Jim Wan talked about it the other day. Sometimes he just removes the microphone and he tells them what to do. So some people will say, that is not real stage work. Well, if they're in trance, if they're on stage, still complying, it's just a direct suggestion. So it's okay. Sometimes direct suggestions are not for the audience or not for the entire group up there because there will be hijackers. You all know what hijackers is. You give one suggestion to one person and two others follow it, even though they didn't feel the push on the shoulder, right? So, but back to business. That was all of that. Body language, shock, rapport, spelled wrong, I know. Balance, tension, blinking. Did you actually pay attention that I started a sequence of blinking with you? First time I looked at you and did this, I went, and you just followed. And that would be like 4 to 6 times every minute in that pace because that's the energy I put into it. So I know, so I'm synchronized with you, right? I'm synchronizing you with me, either way. Breath, we just did that together. Relaxation, absolutely. Equilibrium, do you know what that is? Anyone? Loss of or gaining of. That is everything, any direction. You know, it's not just up and down or to the side or to the other one, whatever. It's kind of like feeling everything. What's up, what's down, right, left. And some people might lose all of that, and we call them floppers. You probably know that, right? So this is kind of like the setup. So to be able to really make an impact, you need at least one thing from each of these 3 segments to make sure you're going to shortcut the conscious mind and create this brief moment of wow, hopefully, and then give them further instructions. And before that, the only thing we need to know is what kind of safety is needed. Are they on a chair? Is there any tables nearby? Here's a fun thing. I was actually doing way back in 2005 or 6. I did the I-Act, Train the Trainers with George Behan, if anyone knows that guy. He's a really good trance subject. So our trainer was sleeping 80% of the time throughout the whole training because he just goes, right? That's kind of interesting. And this Indian lady was supposed to do a demo on him that was all about just induction, like seated speed induction, but it took like 5 minutes. Within 30 seconds, he was gone. And she kept looking at the paper and not paying attention to him, and he just fell over more and more and more. He was gone, and everybody was like, look at him, right? And in the end, you're supposed to pull his arm, or the subject's arm, and drop them even further. And she did that. And he went out of the chair, 1 inch from the conference table corner, and he landed with a face plant and his butt into the air. So if you had a bicycle, you could just go, parking, there we go, right? That's basically what happened. And he was gone because he trusted her. And she was already an instructor for a different organization. And it just tells me, like, there's so many people doing this and not really paying attention to the details. And everything you need to pay attention to is that person in front of you.
Yeah.
Right? Nothing in your hand, nothing right here, because everything you need to know is right there. Everything that has to really have your attention is right there. Nothing else, nothing less. It's not the language necessarily or the words you use. It's everything. It's all of that at the same time. And is there anything of this you cannot do? Question. This is all part of any interaction with any human being, isn't it? So what if you started paying attention to those things instead of, oh, what kind of script should I do today? That means you can do this whenever. And you might start to recognize that some of your inductions that you already know, some of them will actually be within 3 segments very fast, and others will be just one small event of this entire wheel of options. And one small event of an entire wheel of options, keep doing it and fractionating that, will not create a bigger moment of what? I'm sorry, but it won't. But when you start, switching attention to different sides or whatever, you will have this bigger moment of what? That's basically what we're aiming for, right? So that is kind of like the science behind it. That is the things we need to know, how the body reacts, how the mind reacts into being able to do a fast speed induction anywhere, okay? On the most resistant people I ever met, that will be the ones you will never bring on stage anyway, because they don't like the audience, right? But they might want the experience. One of my most seen videos on YouTube would be from a conference where I'm talking about that you can hypnotize people even without being really present, but just from an image of my eyes or my face or whatever. So it's just a different trigger. And I have this lady sitting up front, and I have a DVD with half of my face on it. And I just moved that towards her, moved out of her sight, and just dropped the DVD, and she went on the floor. So her husband went, I want that experience. Okay. And this was at Shelley Stockwell's 2013 IHF conference in San Pedro in California. And I'm like, okay, so have you ever been hypnotized before? Yes, he had, but a lot of his wife's friends has been trying to hypnotize him, but he was very kinesthetic, so that there was a lot of resistance. So what better thing than a physical fractionation? Sat him down and said, well, before we do anything that has to do with hypnosis, let's do something fun. Everything from now on is hypnosis, okay, just so you get it. I said, well, what I want you to do is just follow my patient lead right now. What's going to happen, you've probably seen it, your body will collapse, you take that breath, your head will fall down, and you feel absolutely awesome. And at some point, if you wanna, you might just go lie on the floor, because that's the experience you're looking for. You decide what to do. I don't. It's totally up to you. He's like, okay. So that was fun, wasn't it? So now I primed his entire body. Now the body knew what to do. Now I said, so when you relax, at any place, or you feel comfortable within, and you trust your surroundings, you trust the person you're speaking to, what kind of situation would that be? And then he spoke about a place he's been where he trusted everything, and I started to change the language as everything was being now. And whenever he said something that was a feeling or an emotion, I asked, where do you feel that now? So everything got triggered and activated of all senses within his body right now, relating to that experience where he felt the most trusting to his surroundings and comfortable. So that means now the mind follows. So what I did now was just slightly show him what to do the first time. Then the second time, woke him up, just went through the procedure. In a moment, I'll say the word sleep, pull your arm, and when that happens, you'll go deeper down. Just pretend right now. And he pretended, he thought. And he went a little bit down. I heard that sound from his lungs go like that. That means he went further than he expected, right? Otherwise, he would have controlled that process. So he went even further down. The next time, I asked him to answer a question, and in the middle of his answer, I just pulled his arm and said, sleep once again. And he got surprised, and he wanted to stay up a bit. I just said, just pretend and just go even further. And he let go the last time. In a moment, I'll count from 1 to 3. On the count of 3, you open your eyes, I'll ask you a question. You want to answer that. You really want to answer that. 1, 2, 3, sleep. Gone. Because I primed his body, I primed his mind, I primed everything else. And you might think about right now, how long did that take? Well, I primed him the previous year by him watching his wife while I was doing it. That's one thing. But that whole conversation right there, right now, was basically 2.5 minutes. With everything considering. And he was not an easy client. But I need to take him out of the environment, and I need to place him, is that? Oh, damn it. Okay. Yeah. Good stuff. I'm sending you guys stuff. So I still got 7 minutes. Otherwise, you need to drag me out of here. I'm staying. All right. So he got the experience. He got everything he was looking for, but way faster than he expected. Why? Because I said, let's do something fun before we do the hypnosis part. I would never tell my client, now it's time for hypnosis. I don't even do it on stage. I just tell everyone, well, before we go ahead with all the hypnosis stuff, let's do something fun before we really start now. That's it. That's the language. They don't know what hit them. Conscious mind go, okay. Unconscious go, yeah, finally, right? So that's basically what's happening. So I want to share a couple of things with you. A couple of videos. Sound might not be so interesting. I'll do my best to have as much volume up here right now. But I'm going to show you a couple of things. This first thing is, how many of you have seen me actually hypnotizing the entire audience, not just the people on stage? Because I do that once in a while. You've seen that, right? So here's a setup. This is just like a high school. I think there's 800 people in the audience right now. And this is like 90 minutes within this show. And I spent the last 30 minutes priming my entire audience to react to this gesture by letting completely go, expecting 90% actually doing it, because it's young kids and they're creative and they just watch the 1 hour show knowing exactly what to do. So I just want to show this, but putting this on YouTube, people go like, oh, you're freaking amazing. I'm like, no, just prime them for like a full hour. It's kind of like, it's not a problem really. So this is what's happening. Let's see if we can get this started up. Hi everyone, actually performing on stage right now, and a big audience, 800 people from this school. It's amazing. We just did a show and they're having fun. Are you guys having fun? Yeah. But during this show, I did something. They don't know what it is, but I did something. Just take a look at my hand right there, and we go. Yeah, that's it. Thank you. All right, hey, thank you. I know some of you might think, oh yeah, okay, that was just a deal you made with the entire audience. So here's the thing. I'll do the same thing Mark Sabat does when people say, well, you use actors on stage. It's like, I've done this for 11 years, he says, his show, every night almost. How many actors do you think I need? Because all the videos on YouTube, and you will not see the same person on stage more than maybe 5-6 times, but that's people coming from the outside. It's not people I use every single week. So what are the chances if I claim this and I put it on YouTube, but it was all made up? How many of these youngsters do you think will actually eventually sit down, right? Well, it's all fake. He told us to do it. Half, eventually, takes one person who's pissed off at me, and they will do that. But none of that ever happened. You know why? Because this is real. So I wanted to push it a little bit further. So here's another one. As far as I remember, I divide the audience up into two. So I thought about, let's do this a little bit more advanced. First the people on stage, then one half of the audience, then the other half of the audience with different gestures. So this is how that turned out.
Hey everyone, my name is Martin. Look at these people on stage.
That is me, I'm just bloated, right?
I want to show you something. Look at these
Thank you for that laugh.
Sleeping. But that's not enough. Look behind me.
Look at that girly hair I have.
Say hi, people. Look at this. Sleep.
Oh, it was everyone. Okay, I got another one where it's divided up into two. You might see 5 or 6 people on this side, maybe 10 on the other side, still staying up like, what the hell just happened? And that is very common. I wouldn't expect less to do so. I would expect way more, but still, it's high school material. They're all creative. They watched an entire show where I keep dropping people again and again and again. So they're totally primed. So this might seem like, oh, only a few people in the entire world can do this. No, everybody can do it if you actually prime your audience. Does it look good on video? Oh, yeah. Right? Because nobody has done that until I started doing that for 4 or 5 years ago. I never seen anyone do it. If you know of people who've done it before that, let me know. Because I truly believe I started that whole thing. Right? Here's the last one. Oh, that is me. I just swallowed a football. This lady, I'm hijacking. Here's another thing. Can we hijack a conversation and hypnotize people without them knowing, without using any words at all? This is the example. This is, I think it's an NLP training somewhere. I'm in the room next to them. I was listening in on people talking about, well, is it possible to actually hypnotize anyone? This is in the UK. Hypnotize anyone without them knowing. And I'm like, oh, this is going to be fun. Let's see what's happening. So there's this guy, there's a guy behind him, and there's this lady. So this is what's happening. I just walked in, didn't do anything, pulled out a chair. He keeps having a conversation. Look at her right now, watching the bottle. Look at that guy too. But now something's going to happen. Watch the bottle. All right.
Or maybe.
Yeah, then a lot of stuff. I want to show it to you again. I think we have time for it. We can. Yeah, we have 1 minute. Oh, we'll make it. So I walk in. In her mind is a conversation. Can you hypnotize anyone without them knowing? 2 minutes.
We don't have chairs as soon as possible.
All right, 2 minutes. When I ask her to sit down, I actually lift up the bottle and make the sound with it. So that gesture is actually the priming. When she started watching the bottle as I was turning it, I knew she's totally hypnotized already. So I hijacked the conversation without a word. So her watching it, and I just say, sleep. In the very moment, I put it down so it's concealed within the sound of the bottle. But look at her reaction. And she goes. So let's watch it again.
Do I want to go with this?
He almost went also,
So
by the way.
Ellie and I can sort of play because we know.
They think I'm hotel staff, by the way. So,
conscious point in my head.
that sound, pointing at the chair, doesn't have to be timed. I'm just looking at them to get their attention. She's looking, like feeling uncomfortable, but apparently she's trusting it. And look at what's happening right now. I just lift it up, and I say the word. That's it. It's gone. That's how fun hypnosis can be. Hijacking stuff like that. Why was it possible? Because they were talking about it already. Why was it possible? Because apparently she trusted me. Okay? So there's a lot of things there, but that is basically the entire video. The 20 seconds before that is just me walking in, like just watching and listening for a bit. and then I just hijacked it by pointing at her because she was the one paying attention to me while I walked into the room. The two males in there just kept chatting. That's basically it. All right. So, did you enjoy yourself?
Yes.
Awesome. All right. So, I think it's lunchtime, isn't it?
Yes.
Thank you for showing up. If you need more stuff, it's at my table. Otherwise, it's lunchtime. People need the chairs. So thank you for showing up. And if you want to chat, I'm going to be on the outside in just a moment. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.